A fire at Johannesburg's critical Bree Street substation has left large parts of the CBD without power, and authorities are warning the site remains too dangerous to enter. Emergency services are now on site for a second day examining the damage. City Power has raised concerns about the structural integrity of the building, saying sections of the concrete roofing are now falling. For the latest, Newzroom Afrika's Veronica Makhoali joins us live from the Johannesburg CBD. A very good morning to you, Veronica. So the immediate concern now is the danger that is posed by the non-solidity of that structure.
That's correct, Katleho. In fact, if you can just hear behind me, you can hear the steady hum of generators throughout the city centre. In fact, the street that I'm on is relying entirely on them. And it just tells you, of course, the extent of the City Power outage. As you've mentioned, initially this fire started at the early hours of Friday morning, burning throughout several hours. And you'd understand that this was an electrical fire. And so it took firefighters and emergency services some time to essentially contain that blaze. And now City Power has not even had the opportunity to even examine the extent of the damage, because they understand that there is still some issues in regards to the integrity of the building behind me. But if you're coming in from even as far as Brum, you can already start seeing traffic lights that are obviously out of order. They are not working. It's a citywide outage, and at this point there is no knowing exactly when electricity will return. But to speak to us a little bit more about exactly what transpired in terms of this fire and perhaps even when residents here and businesses will start to see electricity returning to this particular area, I'm going to speak now to City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena. And thank you so much for your time. Let's start a little bit back about this blaze. It's caused significant damage and a lot of inconvenience, if you will, for residents and businesses of the Johannesburg city centre.
Indeed, it's unfortunate that the residents will have to spend the weekend with no electricity because of this fire that affected one transformer in the substation. So the substation is basically housed in the basement of this building, and one transformer has been badly damaged as far as I know from the engineer's reports, and that means that areas such as most of the inner city, in fact the CBD, all of the CBD going down to Newtown, Ramfontein, parts of Parktown North, Parktown and also Hillbrow are currently off as we speak because of this. So the other unfortunate thing is that we as City Power have not really had access to this site, because initially when the fire started, it was really the site that belonged to EMS. They were putting out the fire, fighting the fires, basically putting it out, fighting the smoke, blowing the smoke out of the tunnels and so forth. And this morning we were hoping that we'll get clearance for us to be able to get in so that we can assess the extent of the damage and the material that is needed for us to be able to do the repairs and restore electricity. But we were given that clearance by EMS early this morning. However, structural engineers also came in to say, hold on, let's also make sure that the integrity of this structure is basically up to standard and safe for you to go in. So we're still sitting here, my team is here as well, waiting for that go ahead so that we can then move in and see what is happening in there.
And just talk to me about how severe at least the damage could be to the structure, and what could this potentially lead to in terms of a worst case scenario?
Look, according to the preliminary reports that we got, the structure seems to be badly damaged, but that will be confirmed by the structural engineers. So if they say two things might happen. One is that all clear, you can go in and start doing the repairs and restore electricity, or this structure is badly damaged, you may have to remove your substation altogether from here. This will also mean that even the people that live in this building will have to be evacuated, which is the responsibility for another department. But we're hoping that it's not as bad as it may get to that level, that point of us basically evacuating the whole substation here. We're hoping that there will be some minor repairs that will be needed so that we can then be able to do the work and still retain the substation here. But from what our teams that went in just for a little while indicated, most of the ceiling or the roof was badly damaged. The transformer itself is raised to the ground. It's got thousands of liters of oil in it that is actually gushing out as well. So you still also have that environmental hazard that is happening, and that oil is actually going through into the tunnels as well, where we've got huge high voltage and medium voltage cables. Also the roof was also peeling off, so you had some of the cement actually falling, and it actually, from the reports that we got from EMS, it hit one of their members, and that person was taken to hospital. Hopefully he's fine now, but that's how dangerous it was yesterday to go in. But we're hoping that today it is better. In fact, we called in a contractor to come and put in a scaffolding just so that at least whatever that is falling from the top cannot injure our teams as they go in.
It sounds incredibly dangerous, Isaac, but the reality is with City Power, even at this point, still not knowing the extent of the damage, let's manage the expectations, if you will, of residents in regards to the power outage crisis.
Yeah, look, I think we as City Power, our main aim is for electricity to come back. The sooner we get access there, the better, so that we can then be able to assess and be able to say, do we still have a transformer to basically connect residents? And also another option is for us to backfeed using our other substations that are around here. So we've got many substations that are around, but the only way for us to know where and how to backfeed is if we get access to the site where the fire was, and also be able to get underground into the tunnel, so that we can then be able to see the impact that this has had on some of the feeder boards, and where we can be able to ascertain whether we can be able to backfeed, especially those areas that are far from inner city, like Hillbrow and Parktown. There are other substations that we can use to basically backfeed. In Braamfontein, we've got Braamfontein substation that is used to also assist in terms of Newtown and other surrounding areas. So I think part of the city we probably may be back. If we are given access today, they might be back tomorrow, some of them, and then the rest of them will have to wait for more days before they can come back, especially the CBD.
And we'll, of course, be giving residents that update as and when you give us the go-ahead as well in terms of that infrastructure. Well, that was of course, Isaac Mangena, the spokesperson for City Power. And I'm just going to step out of shot and ask my colleague, Katlego, just to show you essentially where that transformer, as the City Power spokesperson said, raised to the ground in terms of that blaze for hours that has now, of course, plunged the residents here into darkness. But again, the key issue here being the integrity of this particular building. He mentioned, of course, that this substation is underground, but also speaking about some of the issues that are raised following that fire in terms of even just the equipment and the infrastructure of City Power's substation. But this is the building, essentially. We already know that 4 levels up have already been evacuated. This was the decision that was taken yesterday when that fire was, of course, at its worst. So we know that 4 levels of this building have already been evacuated. But we heard as well from the entity that at a worst case scenario, this entire building will have to be evacuated if the extent of the damage is so much so that it means City Power would have to remove the substation entirely. We'll continue, of course, to be watching the developments here and perhaps as well speaking to residents and businesses as to how they plan, to live their lives and to get on with their day with an outage that is, at this point, no clear timeline as to when power will be restored back in the city center of Johannesburg. Katlego.
Well, a lot of work that still needs to be done by the city, not only in ensuring that that building is safe for that vulnerable situation for the residents and the businesses that are surrounding there, but also, most importantly, for those that are commuting in and around the city, especially with the damage that it has caused to other amenities within the city of Johannesburg. That was Veronica Makhoali in the heart of the CBD.